Good day to you. This is Anagalactic on the 6th day of August in 2025, a Wednesday here in Chico, California. We are going to be talking about the supermassive black hole today. A most illustrious name for an object that will never have anything to do with for all eternity. It's just something that's been mathematically imagined up in the sky, where people are very interested. We've always been interested in what's up in the sky. So it's a perfect brainwashing technique. And today we're going to talk about how you have been brainwashed all your life. So that you know. Whether it makes any difference to you is rather immaterial and, in my opinion, very unlikely. But I need to tell you about the supermassive black hole because I know what it actually is. Again, you're tuned in to an astronomy station where I study quantum mechanics and have unlocked quantum mechanics. So let's get going with our series in how you have been brainwashed and probably can't get out of it. Okay, there I think you see some images of the black hole. These are actual photographs of the black hole. Many of them are devouring the universe, and you should worry about that because because the black hole is what's sucking everything into oblivion. Now, these are just... They're called... Oh, well, now there's the actual photograph of the black hole. This is the actual photo. Those are not photographs, but this is. This is a photograph of the black hole. And I'm sure you've been waiting to see this, since it's impossible to photograph the goddamn thing, because it actually doesn't exist. Now, what you're seeing in that little... Sorry about the advertisements. That's part of brainwashing too. You just get used to always being interrupted with an ad. Just to remind you that there is no God, there's only money. So, so the supermassive black hole is an illusion of mathematics. What I would like to talk about today is how much this could ever possibly matter to you or affect you by any conceivable stretch of the imagination. You personally, as a human being, and every single human being that you've ever known or even heard of, and all human beings in the future, will never give a living fuck about even the other planets in the solar system. Now, that's a little bit different, though, because you can learn something very important by studying celestial mechanics. And so Kepler was vastly interested in Tycho Brahe's collection of measurements, which then he probably would have stolen, but Tycho conveniently died, along with his golden nose that he got shot off at a duel. And then Kepler got that information and improved it and was able to work out some very good mathematical equations, which then Newton got hold of, and he really went to town. So I'm really going somewhat out on a limb. Oh, and speaking of going out on a limb, perhaps you've heard of the descent of species or the descent of man, the origin of species and the descent of man. Now that's something that does vitally affect all humans, because that's on Earth. And as I began my science series some 3 years ago, my very first presentation was on the difference between earth science and what probably should be called unearthly science, because anything that's above the atmosphere is really too high to jump to pull it down and eat it. But this matter of biological evolution, I have been fascinated with this topic all my life. At times I've been outraged and have gone on a religious pogrom to just round up all the evolutionists on Earth and just burn them to death in a pit somewhere. But actually that's not how things are meant to go on this poor, sad, war-torn, rape-ridden Earth. No, back in the 1860s, Charles Darwin and a man you'll never care about, although he's more important than Charles Darwin, named Russell. I think his first name is Charles too. Well, a lot of men were named Charlie back then. But here you see the result of not Darwin's work, because Darwin was simply reporting his findings. You see, there's so many where it shows a chimpanzee, ooh, 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 ooh. And then there's another creature that gets progressively taller and more erect, as we just love to say. And that's supposed to be the evolution of man. It's just, I'm sure you've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times, because you're not allowed to get through school without seeing that. What I was looking for to show you was more of a chart of human origin. Is just unbelievable. Oh, there he is. There's the human evolution chart. There's really two aspects to biological evolution. And Charles Darwin wrote his first and most famous book on speciation. That's really all he was trying to point out, is that it looks like finches came from a super finch. Which I believe is a very reasonable observation. Yes, the finches of the Galapagos Islands obviously speciated from a super finch. But you see, you really do want to explain that if you can. It may be that you can't. Some things cannot be explained. Now we're getting to the supermassive black hole, of course. I just wanted you to see the difference between two different forms of brainwashing. In both cases, the legitimate discovery of Charles Darwin was simply the observation that it looks like speciation occurred. I really don't see how anybody could find that, anti-religious, but of course, Jesus Christ. In England, the Anglican Church actually, even in the 19th century, this is why people hate religion. The Anglican Church would have killed Darwin. Not by the 19th century, they couldn't actually grab him and kill him. But a century earlier, they would have murdered him. On the instructions of the government. Kill him. He said that man is not made in the image of God. Kill him. Very, very simple. Alrighty, so what does this have to do with the supermassive black hole? Well, I think you probably have your own thoughts on the subject. But what I would say just offhand is that the supermassive black hole is enormously fascinating, because the human, that is the hominid, the ape that you are, and you better believe it because you've been told that you're an ape cannot jump high enough to grab the black hole. And because the ape is curious about what's in the sky, therefore the ape needs to be told by some authority that would love to control the ape population to get all their bananas. Or he used the apes for some satanic purpose, like get into outer space or spliced genes. Christ, this town is fucking noisy. I'm sorry. And I'm not sitting up on a high horse like, oh my God, I escaped all the brainwashing. No, I was put through the same schooling that you were. In my case, the American educational system is absolutely nothing but the only purpose of the school system in the United States is for brainwashing, and I'm sure that you at least suspect as much. Now, what you're allowed to believe or decide on your own has already been decided for you. But as a scientist, from time to time, I am required to point out to you, which would be to me if someone else were talking, because I'm no different from you. That's the point. Except in every fucking way that matters, I'm different from you, or different than you. I might be different from you in the sense that you would say different than you. And that would make us somewhat different. But as far as believing in the supermassive black hole, I think we should just take a little closer look. Don't you think we should take a closer look like this young fellow is here? That's you 10,000 years ago. Or actually, 10 million years ago, I'm sorry. You have to get that right, 10 million years, right. Like this Earth has had life on it for 10 million years. Oh, fuck, no. 300 million years. 300 million years? Somebody's playing monkey shines somewhere. This Earth is not that old. By the way, all of the dating is based on just two metrics. Talking about radiocarbon dating, now called radiometric, because there are more than one. I guess you say there are more than one, or is more than one, is how an American would say it. But there are more than one radiometric dating methods. And this has to do with false science. They're so determined, because they get paid, in a way. They're so determined to have a dating system to prove evolution, basically, and false geology, that they simply will say that radiocarbon decay, it has to do with two isotopes of carbon, and you may know it's C12 and C14, and there's a differential that you can apply to only living organisms can be dated. Rock cannot. But there are other methods, and the other overall method is stratigraphy, or should be pronounced stratigraphy, I suppose, but it's a paleontological method. It's really archaeological methodology applied to actual rock instead of what men make. And the Earth is made of sedimentary rock, almost entirely. That is what we call the surface of the Earth, excluding the oceans, which are about 3/5 of the Earth's surface. We're getting to the black hole, by the way. But what I'm trying to point out to you is the black hole, you will never care in the slightest degree about the supermassive black hole. It has nothing to do with your reality and never will and never could. But you see, the reason that you're being brainwashed with the Big Bang and the big black hole and cosmological expansion and accretion disks and really crazy shit up in the sky that these men just make up. They just make this shit up. And then there's a specific program to put this, just flood the schools and the internet and everywhere else with the latest findings of guys whose intelligence level is about the same as that monkey. They have no idea what they're talking about when they talk about a supermassive black hole. I will show you what it really is. I'm not sure how many other men may exist in the world today who at least have some idea what the data supports as far as the existence of a gravitational center to a galaxy. That's all the phenomenon is the gravitational center of a typical galaxy. That's all that is. So why would somebody call it a super, what are we talking about, Superman? Super duper? These are scientists talking. No, they're not. They're technologists that work for the fucking government. You understand that's what runs the school system, right? Well, that's why you have Charlie the Ape here looking at you every single motherfucking day of your school life. You are brainwashed with Darwinianism, which is atheism. Now, it doesn't have to be, but that's how it's come about. So that is important. That is important. But now that the dirty deed has been done, and the American populace has been brainwashed, this is to destroy whatever vestige of religious sentiment was statistically, collectively left in American culture, such as it is. Now, I couldn't give a fuck about the American society or culture. Any society that's capable of just raising the redwood trees as soon as they're discovered, that's not a government, society, or culture that needs to exist. And the sooner this motherfucking nation that I live in, the sooner that it destroys itself, the better. And if that means invading Iran so that Russia fires some goddamn missiles and destroys half of the East Coast, that would make me sing and dance. Because it's either that or you're going to have a new generation of kids that all think that they're from monkeys. Darling, that's already happened. I'm just the odd man out. Now the point is, the Big Bang was also propagandized at exactly the same time as Charlie the Ape. Actually, it was Fred Flintstone. We'll just call him Fred Flintstone, the Ape Man. There's not a shred of evidence to support Darwinian evolution of man. But there is a ton of evidence to support speciation. It's just an extension of the idea of speciation to come up with a goddamnable, ridiculous, anti-scientific notion that human beings could have emerged from this ecology. Only a jackass, only a retard would think that. Well, you have an entire nation of retards. And the only exceptions are even worse than retards. They're faggot religious people like those goddamn Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses and community church people. They're all as stupid as these goddamn apes. So what does this have to do with the supermassive black hole? Did you see Interstellar? My jackass retarded family thought that because they knew I'm the odd man out, I'm a scientist, I actually used my brain. The rest of the people in my family never used their brains, and they always thought that maybe I was born from another parent. Because I think, I use logic. They don't. So they're looking for some way to communicate with me. This is like decades into our life. A couple of decades. And this shit-ass movie called Interstellar came out with an actor who I just call him Horseface. And he's kind of like Eric Weinstein. He's just, I mean, he's produced from the statistical image that Hollywood produces for what kind of a guy could both, I guess, ball Jodie Foster, who's actually a homo, and go to the stars and visit a black hole. and they chose Horseface. And they made us... The most stupid movie I think I've ever seen is Interstellar. It's designed for shitheads that have been brainwashed, and my shit-headed family came to me and said, "Oh God, we have something to share with you, because we know you're intelligent. Have you seen Interstellar? Oh my God, I think maybe I'm starting to appreciate you." I went, "Interstellar? I saw, I think, a half a trailer, and so I offended the living fuck out of them without intending to. I would never watch that stupid..." "What? Oh, you're a mean man." So I went, "Okay." And I watched it. And then I was confronted by my next older sibling. I mean, I'm the oldest, but there are 3 boys younger than me. The oldest came to me. He did try to use his brain, but they beat the shit out of him in the system and then destroyed him. And so he had to move to the East Coast. But he found his woman, so I guess he's okay. But one of the last things he ever did was come up to me on behalf of the family, who's trying to find a way to reach out to me because they're losing me because I can think and they can't. But they still love me. So this is a form of love. I go to Scott and ask him what he thought of Interstellar. And so Mark came up to me and asked, "What'd you think of Interstellar?" And he's expecting, "Oh my God, that was the most perfect, supermassive black hole I've ever seen." And then he could have run back to the family. He is human. He is human. But that's not what I answered. So that was tragic. And that's the life of a scientist in my little world. So why am I showing you a monkey instead of a supermassive black hole? Because there is no such thing as a supermassive black hole. Okay, let me show you just so you can be convinced. Supermassive black. There's even a song about this goddamn... Okay, there we are. This is right. This is right from Interstellar. Look at that thing. Well, the first thing you notice is that it has an accretion disk. But let's go to Wikipedia here. The very first one that you see, my brand new technological pointer now, which I've needed for 3 years and finally acquired. Let's click on that and see what Wikipedia says. Because isn't Wikipedia... I mean, okay, there it is. Is that an overdone donut? No. What is it? I think you know, because you're not allowed to not know, baby. You have to know what that thing is. There are tens of thousands of things you should know that are orders more important than whatever that thing is. But you'll never even know about them, such as the Earth was struck by a comet about 20,000 years ago. You'll never even know that fact. And the fact that I produced that factoid for you, now you know that I need to be destroyed to protect your children. It's that serious, baby cakes. So that is called the first ever photograph of a supermassive black hole. Is that what that is? Of course not. Well, then what is it then? It's a mistake. That's not actually a bona fide photograph, and anybody, even in the industry, who thinks so, is either, well, let me just put it this way. They're getting paid enough money to lie in their teeth. Professional astronomers and astrophysicists have taken this photo apart, but they can only go so far. You know why? It's under lock and key. This is the nature of Nazi propaganda. You produce your goddamn false reports, and then you cover your tracks so nobody can go back to tear you to shreds. Whoever produced that photograph, it's actually thousands of people. They should be rounded up and shot. That is not at all what they say it is. Okay? So what is it? That's what I'm going to tell you in the next video. Not what that is, because that is called a lie. What you just saw is called a fabrication of mentally disturbed rich people. Mentally defective technocrats. The very idea of photographing, or whatever they call it, it is so insane that it's preposterous. But here's where I have to give you a clue. So you can actually do your own research, and you can get to grow up and be a big scientist. I mean a real one. One that's approved by heaven and by God and Jesus and the angels. And I would go on to say the pixies and the leprechauns, but I actually don't want to go to hell, okay? I am a religious man. I have respect for higher authority. But nobody on the surface of this motherfucking planet. I'm well beyond worldly anything. Because I would have gone insane if I hadn't found the truth. There are 3 major lies that are brainwashed into every American child, and for 3 generations this has been going on, or 6 depending on how you count a generation, but for over 70 years, because that's how old I am. The Big Bang was only a theory when I was in grade school. Now it's a fact, and you're not allowed to say a motherfucking thing against the Big Bang. At the statistical level, every Fred and Barney, every Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble knows that there's a Big Bang. You have to accept that. It makes no difference how stupid it is or how unimportant is the whole fucking idea. You have to first know why that's so important to the technocrats. There are several reasons, but the main one is it serves the needs of the plasma physicists. Because every time you hear about the Big Bang, these guys are thinking to themselves, when they think about the Big Bang, they're thinking about very high temperatures. And it's 1-to-1 correspondence. In the first second of the Big Bang, some fraction of a second of the Big Bang, there was an enormously high temperature. You might say the highest temperature in the universe. Well, that's what they want to talk about, because the government is getting a weapon from that. The United States government wants weapons. Weapons! So, of course, the Big Bang is just a giant thermonuclear explosion that gives them a perfect excuse right in front of the American public to build another worse bomb. What do you think the Hadron Colliders are for? It's for a weapon, you idiot. It's for a weapon. So where then does Charles Darwin and Charles Russell come in? That can't possibly produce a weapon. Think. For once in your fucking life, think. Why is Darwinism brainwashed into you? Why is that done? Genetic splicing. Well, that doesn't make a bomb. No, it makes intelligent soldiers. What do you think AI is for? So you can get answers to your exam questions by cheating? No. Is it to give you a better recipe? Or to tell Elon Musk how to get us to Mars? Is that what AI is for? No! What is it for? Fucking automated soldiers, you jackass! So what's the third lie? How old is the Earth? How old? Every school child can answer. They might have an intelligence quotient of under 3 digits. But every man, woman, and child in the United States knows, A, we're from monkeys, B, there was a Big Bang, and C, what's the third one? What's the big one? How old is the Earth? 4.5 billion. Everyone knows this. They don't even, half of these men and women don't even know what billion means. But they know the exact number of years that the Earth has been around. Has it been? Is it true? Is that even provable? What's the evidence for that? How long has the solar system been here? Is it between 4 and 5 billion years? Well, that's 1/3 the age of the universe. So somebody's shitting right in somebody else's face. There's just lie after lie after lie. So what's my big production platform for today? I will tell you what came to be called the black hole. First of all, it's not a hole, although that's an interesting way of phrasing it. It's not a hole, and of course it's not black. That's just an idiot term. So whatever that thing is that is called a black hole, I will show you what it is. And I will be the first man that I've ever heard of to actually tell you what that phenomenon is. And it's gonna blow your fucking head off of your shoulders. Isn't that what you want? Isn't that why you want to be entertained? Is for somebody to tell you the truth, so that it blows your goddamn mind off. Of course it is. Well, that's what they're doing. They're taking my place so that I will never be heard. Because they can make movies like Interstellar that shows what they call a supermassive black hole that is so far beneath the dignity of someone finger painting to show what it's anti-reality. It's the stupidest, craziest, most ridiculous, monstrous, stupid, jackass bullshit ever concocted by the satanic mind of man. Those drawings, those artist renditions, that photograph, they're all shit. You can go online right now, and this will be in the next presentation, and watch this. You may not believe this, but you'll be ashamed once I show you that it is true. There is a time lapse. Listen carefully, jackass, brainwash victim. There is a time-lapse video of stars going around the Milky Way black hole, where at least one of those stars goes behind it. We'll do that in the next video. Stay tuned. This is Enogalactic giving you the secrets of the universe. And just to sum up your anti-brainwashing, humans are not descended from the ecology. There was speciation, but it took a very short amount of time, and of course under the guidance of fucking aliens. Good aliens. The same ones who engineered the solar system, according to a certain legend, in 6 solar days. If you don't believe that, It's because you're going to hell. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Thank you.